soul shoes and walk among the groups of two. It's not ideal, it's just how we feel. It's a shame we're easily amused. The only cure for this forward motion is to make emotion fly away. The air is cold, but the water's not frozen. I see ripples rolling every day. Cast a stone and hit a hardcore view. Catchphrase of the day is that it's true. There's no coffee talk and only one way to please. It's a shame what you do moves me. The only cure for this forward motion is to make emotion fly away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to It's All Goodall, right here on Rebellious Ufology. I am Lynn Hurley with my dashing co-host, Mr. Jim Goodall. How are you, Jim?
I'm doing great. It's a little bit warm here in southern Arizona, but I guess it's warm everywhere except maybe the Pacific Northwest. So it's 108 today. It was 108 yesterday, and it's supposed to be, I think, 111, later on this week.
Boy,
So
it's warm. So when does it cool off there? You said you were
yeah, but
talking
it's a dry, as they say, it's a dry heat. Yeah. So it's a blowtorch, Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
I'm
well.
excited
Oh,
for
well.
tonight. Jim, we have Preston, Dennett, and Dolly Saturn joining us.
That will
for
be
those
fun.
It will be fun. For those that don't know Preston, he began investigating UFOs and the paranormal in 1986 when he discovered that his family, friends, and co-workers were having dramatic, unexplained encounters. Since then, he's interviewed hundreds of witnesses and investigated a wide variety of paranormal phenomena. He's also a field investigator for MUFON, a ghost hunter, a paranormal researcher, and the author of 29 books, almost 30, and more than 100 articles about UFOs and the paranormal. So several of his books are Amazon UFO bestsellers, and his articles have appeared in numerous magazines. We also have Dolly Saturn joining us today, and she is the topic of his most recent book, Symmetry. So I can't wait to hear her stories. I would give you a background on Dolly, but we're going to talk about it. So it'll be a big surprise for those that don't know her. She's amazing and wonderful. And what do you say we bring them on, Jim?
Sounds good.
All right. Let's see. Hold on. What's going on with Preston? I don't know why that is doing that. Let me see. Will Dolly come on? Okay, there's Dolly.
Hey,
Dolly, how are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Preston may be in the Eurozone. He's probably going to his phone at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take that off and see.
Or he got abducted by aliens, one of the two.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Here he comes.
He dropped out. So he'll be back on.
Yeah.
Preston did warn us he's having internet issues, so he'll be back on soon. How are
Right.
you, Dolly?
I'm awesome. Thank you for asking. How are you all?
Doing great.
Good.
And,
Great. Yes. So some of you, if you saw Preston and Dolly, I think that was the last time I had you guys on, because I don't think I've had you on this new channel yet.
No,
On Space Out Radio, I had Dolly and Preston
Yes.
all together, and
Yep.
it was such a fun time, and I wanted to bring you guys back and let you meet some other people that you may not have met yet. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Thank
so
you.
as soon as Preston gets here, we will chat with him. But let's talk to you a little bit, Dolly. So you have had, for those that don't know, you have had lifelong experiences, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
So-
Yes.
When did you remember, say, like your first one that you ever had?
I was about 10 months old. I was already walking and talking by that age. I was in my crib. I was supposed to be taking a nap. We had moved to Miami from Fort Benning, and we were on Bayfront, Biscayne Boulevard. And we were in a high-rise apartment building. And I was looking out my window, just not sleeping. And all of a sudden, I saw this huge bright light in broad daylight coming through that window, and I was fascinated by it. I was like, oh my God. I mean, it was shining beams through the levelers and everything. And the next thing I know, I start rising, and I'm thinking, what? And I realized I didn't think levitation then, but I just knew I was floating up. By the time I got to the top of my crib rail, I freaked. Like, no. And I flipped over, and I'm trying to pull myself back down. I'm like freaking out. I think I was screaming. I don't know. But my memory goes after that. I'm like dead cold. Don't remember anything else from that day but that. It was, and I know I remember it because it was traumatic. My memories include snapshots of contact. I also have clear memory of what I was doing besides contact, and that was I was developing my abilities. I was very fast to use, ESP, clairvoyance, clairsentience, all that stuff. I learned to levitate. I levitated first time I was 2. I had a psychometry, and I could do all kinds of stuff. It's freaking my family out. My father, who was in the military, was like, I was showing abilities way beyond anybody else in the house. My whole family is psychic, and he didn't know what to do, and he didn't know where to take me to get me tested or anything. And somebody said, take her to, Homestead Air Force Base. They got a unit down there, and they can test. They're testing right now for that. And my dad not stupidly, I feel bad for him. It was a hard thing for him to face when he realized what was going on. He took me down there, and he put me in this program. And after they immediately wanted to keep me. By the 3rd day, they didn't want to let me go home. They would do all kinds of testing on me. And that night I was there, and my dad's friend, who was a general, found out where I was, and he said, get her out now. And the general wrote an order, and my dad went down there. And my dad was an airborne ranger. You don't ever say no to a ranger, ever. It would be hell to do so. So he went down there, and he pulled me. And I later found out in my life, I didn't know what was going on. I found out there was an MK program, and it was a bad MK program I was being inducted into. I think they tried to grab me a couple times when I was 10. I guess you'd call them men in black. Followed me home from school. About halfway home, I walked, started talking to me, and I was with my little friend, and I was already trained, do not let anybody get near me. And I grabbed her on the arm, and I drug her and ran screaming, come, 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 We jumped fences and everything. And after that, I had private security on me for about 2 months, 1 month, 2 months, somewhere like that. My brother and I both. It altered where we lived. It altered our home security, everything. And my life became very cut off from everybody. And my friends were vetted and everything. It was a long life for me after that.
Well, that's going to be pretty traumatic for a 10-year-old to know that someone's trying to abduct her, abduct you.
Yeah. When you're psychic, you hear your parents think. And I was already very mature in my knowledge by then, and understanding what was going on. I mean, my dad was a ranger. I could listen to him dream. And so I knew, it was a part of my life. I also started taking karate and judo lessons when I was 5. He wanted me able to defend myself. So I understood that the world was a tough place and that I needed to protect myself. So it wasn't as traumatic as it was. I was just very defensive and protective. And I had a little brother that I kept an eye on too. So that was my life. All of my other contacts, physical contacts with ET, where I have memories. My first real memory was when I was 5, 6, almost 6. And I was laying down in the front yard looking at the sky and just dreaming away, And I saw this umbrella coming down. We had just seen Mary Poppins like the week before, and it looked like her umbrella, only it didn't have the handle with the parrot on it. And it was slowly revolving. And I was like, wow, look at that. And then poof, my memory shifts, and I'm sitting on some lady's lap, and I'm looking at her because she's really tall and long arms, long hands. And I'm staring at her, and she's very sweet. She's talking to me psychically, and she's telling me, it's okay, I'm Mama. You can call me Mama. She led me to believe, and I'm slightly related to her. I have some genetics that are hers. And she said she would help take care of me when I was with them. I don't remember anything. Like they blank me out after that. They give me just a little tidbit and then my memory goes. And it was on again, off again, on again, off again, off, throughout my younger years. By the time I was 14, I also had a mother who was probably MK'd. Okay, my lab, we called it MK in my day. It's my lab. And she had a real aversion to anything UFO or ET. And a serious aversion to it. Would not talk about it. And so she had me to thinking that I was dreaming all of this and I was a little bit Lulu. And I decided when I was 14 that I wasn't going to put up with that anymore. I was going to figure it out. I was so determined. And it took about, I don't know, close to 6 months. I was just looking for opportunity to figure it out. And I took astronomy lessons at the Miami-Dade Transit Planetarium. And I was out in the backyard one night. It was a school night. It's about 1 a.m. and I'm doing my homework. And my dad, go to bed. So I packed on my scope and got dressed, and sat on the edge of my bed. I only sleep 2 hours a day, pretty much, 2 or 3. And so I was up all night all the time anyway. And I was just looking up at the sky. Orion was up. It was a beautiful, clear night. We had very low light pollution in those days. And I saw stars that weren't stars. I was like, wait, those aren't supposed to be there. I knew Orion really well. And I knew the sky wasn't that clear. And I started counting them. And there were almost 100 of them. And they were moving. And the next thing I know, they're pairing off in Tues and going in different directions, east, west, north, and south. And one pair came down over our area. One of them shot east toward Kendall, the mall over there, and the Dayland Mall. And the other one came down over where we lived. And it came down over the back of our house. And I'm watching I'm thinking by this time, okay, this is it. I'm not forgetting this. I was so determined. And I watched it change colors as it came down. And I saw it come down over like the tree line, the tops of our trees in the back by my window. And the tree started whipping around. And I'm thinking, ooh, I don't hear anything. I feel like a thrum in the back of my head,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at this thing and it's dipping a little bit, like bob and dip and sway slightly. And I'm memorizing it. I know it's not ours. I don't know what it is. And I get to the portholes, which are not holes. They were windows, oblong, rectangular windows up top. And there was a being in each one of them. And they were looking at me. I see you. And it freaked me completely out. Freaked me out. And I turned. I was like, no. And I was going to die under my bed. And I froze. And the room exploded in blue light. Or blue-white light. It was more blue. And my memory went, gone. I woke up 3.5 hours later on my floor, pissed off, angry. I started crying. I was so mad. I thought, oh, God, I'm crazy. I'm crazy. And I'm looking at myself and I realized I am not wearing what I had on when I went to bed. That's just not mine. They were inside out. They were backwards. And I'm thinking, oh, my God. And I had the first shockwave hit me of, oh, my God, this is real. Okay. I could hear my mother in the kitchen and she's cooking breakfast for my dad. And I had a school day that day. And I was feeling yucky. So I went and got a shower and I got my clothes on and I went in the kitchen and she said, make coffee. Made the coffee. Now I'm thinking about how the hell am I going to talk to this woman who hates this subject, period. Okay. And I'm like, hey, Mom, did you guys see anything last night? Lights, sounds, wind, anything? And she's like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, UFOs. She whirled on me. She put her finger in my face, went, eh. That meant shut the hell up. No. And I got mad and I'm sitting there. I drank my first cup of coffee ever. And I was shaking and I'm thinking, how do I tell this woman that I'm abducted or I didn't know what the hell was going on. I just knew it was real. The radio was playing in the kitchen. She always had the radio on. It was like on Paul Harvey that morning. And it went to the news. And the very first thing out of the guy's mouth, two Dayland police officers saw UFOs last night. And they described the whole thing, all of it, what they look like down to the left. I start screaming. I'm jumping up and down. I flew the chair back at me. I was like, it's real. She whirled on me again. And she said, no, you were dreaming. Get out of my kitchen now. That meant leave or die. Okay. So I slunk out. I was so mad and I was so pumped up. I was shaking. My dad come around the corner at that time to come in to eat, and he said, Dolly, calm down. You got to calm down. You're way over the top. He said, I can't talk to you right now about this. You got to calm down. He said, go relax, calm down, meditate, something. And I thought, okay, I'm going to meditate. So I went in the bathroom, the only private room in the house. At that time, we had my Aunt Joanne and her 4 children living with us. 2 of them were twins. And my cousin Cheryl. I mean, we had a trailer out front, and where people were sleeping in. I had no privacy, so I locked the door. I slunk to the floor, and I kept thinking, how am I going to remember this? I mean, I was desperate at this point. The only thing I could think of to do was to replay it inch by inch. And I thought if I did that, maybe something would hit me. And I got to the light and my whole brain exploded. I ended up with a migraine on the spot. I mean, it was like pouring out my ears. I started to get sick. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I started crying and shaking. I was sweating. And I thought, oh my God, I got a grip on myself. I finished getting ready for school, and I went to school that day. My friend met me at school. She's screaming at me, come to the bathroom, come to the bathroom. I said, why? And she said, I got something to tell you. She was on Kendall Boulevard and saw the UFOs. Also, they buzz bombed their car. And she was just screaming about it. She was just screaming, oh my God, this is real. She had some instances in life too, where we both were seeing and hearing things, just her not as much as me. So it was like we're buddies, she knew. And she wanted to tell everybody. And I'm like, no, bad idea. I already knew what it was like with military and all that. Keep your mouth shut. It will go badly. Don't do it. So she kept the secret. We kept the secret our whole lives, just about. My dad found me that night, and he said, tomorrow we're going to somebody's house. I'm going to take you. We're going to get some help with you, and get things explained. We got up at 4 a.m. It was a Saturday because that was a Friday. There's nowhere to eat in Miami back then, nowhere. So we took breakfast with us and coffee, and we drove all the way to Fort Worth. And we went to this man's house, and he knocked on the door, he opened it, and he was very nice and very sweet. And I'm staring at him, and I'm thinking, I know who you are. I just knew. I mean, I'd been around NASA most of my life, okay? And then it hit me, oh my God. And my dad said, here you go. He's going to help you. He tried to hypnotize me. I'm unhypnotizable. My dad and I had a conversation in his house and in the car about what happened to my dad. My dad was a contactee also, I found out then. He told me about his experience at about the same age, and that I was going to have more. I was not going to stop. And I was facing a lot of stuff at that point, and I was taught how to breathe because I'm not hypnotizable. They tried like, oh, I can't be hypnotized. So they taught me breathing exercises. They gave me some more meditation stuff to do. And so I started practicing that. I was also told that if they pick me up like that, and I remember that much, I'm going again and look for it to happen to me.
Yes.
What happened to me that morning, was when the light paralyzed me, 2 of the beings that I saw in the windows came down an energy ribbon that shot through the room. And one of them walked up to me, and he turned me, and he took me by the hand, and he put my hand with his. I was under his hand on the energy ribbon. This is a little teeny guy. And I'm thinking, how the hell are you moving me? I probably outweighed him twice. And everything went white. In other words, it was like I could see things around me, but it was opaque looking. Okay. But it was brilliant white light that I was in. We went up, we went through the ceiling, which scared the hell out of me, went through the tree, and we came up along this craft. And I thought the ribbon was going to go in the door. The door had opened up. But no, it didn't. It went alongside of it. And when he got me up almost to foot level of it, he put my feet in and shoved me in the door. And I landed on my keister. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying to orient myself. What the hell? And I feel this woman's presence, and I look at her and I realize, oh my God, it's Mama. I remember her from when I was 5. I mean, I had a floodgate burst in my head. It was so big. I started shaking. I vomited all over myself. I mean, just puked. Okay. That was bad. They had one of the grays that had helped me. come take me to clean me up. They decontaminated me, literally. They gave me a smock to wear, and they brought me back into where they were. And I'm still shaking. I cannot control myself. I'm going into shock. The room was too cold. I mean, I was freezing to death. And then I got the cold sweats, and I'm like trying to pass out just from the freak out from it. And she decided that the Gray needed to take me around the ship so I could ground to my memories, because they were hitting me hard. I mean, I was just remembering everything. And he took me all over the craft. He showed me everything. And I even had a room there, and I found a brush that I thought I lost. And I was like, okay, they gave me something to drink. They brought me back and sat me down. And then I hear in my head this voice, and it's a male voice. And he says, hey, kiddo, how you doing? And I realized who that is. That's Talata. And he's a fifth dimensional disembodied entity who indwells the craft. He maintains all of the craft while you're flying. He takes care of it.
Consciousness of the craft.
Yeah, you know how you're the consciousness of your body? He's the consciousness of the craft. And all ET craft are done this way. These are beings who are so evolved. They're three-dimensional, related to us. They're our progenitors, have the same DNA, but they've evolved so far in advance of us that they've become interdimensional travelers. And when they started dimensional traveling, they met up with beings in the dimensions, and they had a coming together, and they worked together. And they were at the point where they should be worked together. In other words, it's the next step in their evolution. And so he was the craft. He asked me if I was okay, and he wanted to talk to me. And he said they were proud of me because I guess they expected me to get conscious. I guess they expected me to do what I did. You know, it was a pretty big feat, I understand. And he said, what do you want to do with your life? And at that age, I was all over the place. I mean, I wanted to be everything. You know, I wanted to be a nurse. I was already candy striping. Wanted to be a marine biologist, a zoologist, you know, astronomer, you know, physicist, you name it. I wanted to be it.
So what did you end up being?
I ended up, well, on this side of things, I'm a nurse. I'm
Okay.
also a zoologist and a couple other things.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been busy my whole life.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, I have lots of things that I wanted to do, and I'm running them. But I ended up flying for them. He said, what do you want to do? And my dad was a pilot, you know, that you know, ones without engines, you know, a glider. All Rangers are glider pilots. They're all taught how to glide. And but I had two uncles who were pilots. One worked for not Eastern, United back then. And but he had a small plane, he had a little Piper Cub, and I loved that thing. And he would take me flying, and I loved to fly. And I was just starting to learn how to, you know, fly. I was going through the instructions, and I had started taking a little bit of ground school. And so, yeah, and I just looked Mama in the face and said, I want to fly. Didn't think they would say yes, because I knew by that time when my memories are coming back that they do everything psychically, okay? They don't have controls like we do. They're well in advance of that. It's not the same thing. And he said, yeah, you can learn, but you have to go through a lot to be able to do what you want to do. He said, there's a lot we have to figure out whether you can even do it. They vetted me for it for about 6 months. They told me I was good to go. I could learn. And then 4 years of my life, constant training, learning how to fly. And I had a lot to learn, a lot. I took my first flight when I was 19 years old, just after my 19th birthday. So that's what I do.
That's amazing. Preston.
Yeah.
Hello.
Is she frozen?
Oh, no.
Uh-huh.
Preston, I don't know if you can hear us, but you're frozen. I'll send him in the chat too. We'll get him eventually. We will be able to say hello to Preston at some point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi.
There
I thought he
it
had a
is.
funny look on his face.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey.
I think you're back. Are you back? Move something.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on here now. I've been having trouble the past 3 days.
Oh.
They're having a lot of sunspots. And
Yeah, that's what I
told.
told him. Yeah.
And that will definitely affect communication.
But just going back a little bit on Dolly's encounter, because I've talked to a lot of people, and hearing her describe this onboard encounter was thrilling, because she remembered it without hypnosis for one thing. But one thing that really struck me was when she started describing her quarters. And I have not heard that from a lot of people, but there was one lady, Pat Brown, who had a very similar experience. She was having lots of visitations, finally just got fed up with it. She's like, I need to remember. I need to know if this is actually happening to me. And as she went to bed that evening and found herself on board a craft, and they were very delighted. They're like, oh, you're ready now. You can remember. Gave her the tour of the craft and took her to her quarters. And she's described them as being very small, not a whole lot to it. There was a little bed, a little shelf, and basically gave this description, which Dolly later provided pretty much the same exact details. That's what I love about Dolly's story. She started to really fill in a lot of the blanks. A lot of people would tell me, these craft are alive. I just have the feeling they're living beings. And so Dolly was able to confirm that as well. And going back even a little further, when Dolly's describing other people seeing UFOs on that same night, the 2 Kendall police officers and her best friend. I have a lot of cases like that. And just now, really for the first time, I'm thinking to myself, maybe you can speculate on this too, Dolly. I'm wondering if the ETs showed themselves to other people on purpose to help validate your own encounter.
Yeah,
Particularly your best friend.
absolutely. That my best friend and I talked about it because her lucidity with everything didn't happen until mine happened, and it was sort of like a ping pong effect between the two of us. And so yeah, we think that was why.
Yeah,
That's
that doesn't
neat.
surprise me.
Yeah.
And Dolly didn't.
Oh no, we lost him again. Yeah.
I'm sure it was something really good too. Very insightful. Oh,
Yeah.
stop movement.
Can you hear me?
Yay, there you are.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I might be going in and out, but I'm on my phone right now, so it should be good. I don't know. But at any
Dolly-
rate, Dolly was describing her onboard experience at age 14 and skipped over the best part because it is a long story. But they took her to Saturn. They took her to see the planet Saturn.
Yep.
And she described this. I'm like, yes, because this is exactly what Jay Gardner told me, a contactee from West Virginia, who described an experience at age 12, not 14, but 12, pretty close to the same, where the ETs took him on board and said, we want to show you something, and took him to see the planet Saturn. He recognized it from his astronomy books. And his story is very similar in a lot of ways. They told him, we really want you to study, be smart, do good in school. And Dolly's experiences from a very young age were all about learning and a lot of science and ethics and morality. And this is exactly what they told Jay Gardner. You must always do the right thing. But yeah, they took him to see the planet Saturn. And when Dolly described that, I'm like, oh, here we go again. This is like the 3rd or 4th time I've heard this.
Wow. And that's what's really cool too, Preston, about your working with so many experiencers, is that you're able to make these connections. I think that a lot of people aren't, just because you know so many of these stories. And I think that always adds validity, especially little things like describing the same types of corridors or being told similar things that aren't necessarily like things that we hear all of the time, right? We don't always hear them say, like, do well in school. You'll hear them say, take care of your environment. Like, we hear that all the time. But the other things, and that's one thing that when I first started in this and started working with experiencers, that's what really got me, which is that, these small little details that you don't hear a lot of, but then you start hearing from multiple people, is what really validated the experiences for me.
Exactly. Yeah, Dolly described being taken to a little decontamination chamber. And I had you describe it in detail, Dolly, because I had heard this before from other people. Betty Andreasen described it. Yeah. But one guy, Don Anderson, who is also very much conscious, described being taken to a room by a praying mantis, and this light shines down on him, and it kind of scans his whole body. And he's like, what was that? He turns, and the praying mantis tilts its head and says, as if searching for the right word, says, soap.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a light shower. It's a decontaminating light shower. You know, we've learned to use that technology already somewhat. We have ultraviolet lights that we use to kill germs, and we put them in our air conditioning plenums. They use them in laboratories. I mean, it's really important. We all know if you go outside, it's good for you when you're sick. It helps, you know, clean you up, and so they have excelled at it. And so I would always, every time I came on board, I had to go take my light shower. I had to decontaminate.
There's a when I was in Minnesota here about 3-4 weeks ago, I was coming back to where I was staying with my ex. I usually stay with my ex-wife, and so does my wife when she travels with me. We stay with my ex. But there was a shopping center, and I drove by, and I was just dumbfounded. All the lights in the shopping center were ultraviolet. And it's Jerry's. It's there in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, and he's a real environmentalist type person. And I think the reason why they had the UV, because it does kill bacteria and kill germs.
Exactly.
And doesn't have it on during the day or even in the evening, but when they shut down at night, overnight they turn them on and they're on all night long. And it was just a bizarre experience to drive by and see that. But it makes sense when you think about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. They don't use a lot of water on board. Okay. And so they have ways of dealing with water issues. And that's one of them. So.
Where they use the ultraviolet just to decontaminate.
Right. Yeah.
Human germs.
Pretty much. Well, everybody has germs, even they do. And when you're in an enclosed space together, in an environment that's got a magnetic bubble around you, you know, a gravitational wave bubble, everything floats around. You lose skin cells, you shed hair. I mean, they have to work really hard to keep the environment, you know, clear, so that everybody enjoys clean air and a safe environment. So yeah.
Interesting.
So now, how do they protect you from their germs?
We have the same germs. The only germs that they don't have are diseases that we've developed over the years here. They're not 100%
immune.
Right. They'll get sick. I mean, they've gotten stuff from me a couple times, but they react to it differently. They heal faster than we do, and they get over it. But it's irritating to them. They don't like it, so they don't let it happen as much as they can. You know.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's amazing that you were able to recall events inside the craft without hypnosis.
I asked myself that question. How the heck did I do that? Because I mean, I did it. I know I did it. I know I fought for it. It made me violently ill. I mean, I had headaches. I had shakes. I developed anxiety issues for a while from it, because I was living duality after that. I mean, I have two lives, and they're together. And I'm one of these people. When they pulled my genetics, it kind of explained things. I'm predisposition for it. I'm really hard to. I never get sad. I'm not really. I get anxious, but I don't get sad. I'm happy all the time. Nobody in my family understands this. Like, how can you be so damn happy? I don't know, but it's in my genetics for that. I also have really good high cognitive abilities, and I think my way through things rapidly. So I'm just not afraid, you know. And I think that's why I'm able to stay conscious, because I don't automatically deny or go into delusion about it. I'm right there with it. I just accept what's going on and I work my way through it. I'm very resourceful that way. So I think that's why I remember.
I know traumatic events will block out memory. I know I was coming back from Sturgis in 2013, and I was West Texas doing 70 miles an hour on my Hurley, and I hit standing water, and the bike started going like this, and I knew I was going to leave. And my only thought was, well, damn, I didn't want to go this way. I don't remember leaving the bike. There were 4 cars behind me that crashed as well.
Wow.
And I was conscious for about 2 seconds as I'm skidding down the road on my back. I'm like this.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the next thing I know, I was stopped. You know, I opened my eyes. I'm still right next to my motorcycle because it flipped this way.
Right.
I flipped this. And they said I skidded for about a quarter of a mile. and there were 3 cars of the 4 cars behind me. 3 of them crashed into each other. There were serious injuries, and and I don't remember. I remember leaving. I remember the incident for about 2 seconds in the middle of skidding down the road, and then when I woke up, as I'm laying there, I'm straddling both westbound lanes.
Ugh.
And I said to myself, "Oh God, I hope there isn't an 18-wheeler with 80,000 pounds of hogs right behind me, because I'm screwed." So I looked down and I said, "Oh God, I hope my feet are where they're supposed to be." And I looked down and they were there. I wiggled my toes. I lifted one foot up. I went another foot up, and then lifted this arm just a little bit. Well, that's good. And I did this one first. Did this one, and it's starting to rain again. And a little bit of water and a little bit of blood goes a long way. And I was pretty bloody over here. But I pulled the sleeve back, and I had a spot about that big. That was all I had, road rash, after leaving the motorcycle at 70 miles an hour.
You're kidding me. Wow.
I think God looked down and said, "I'm going to screw with you today, but I'm not going to kill you." And
sounds like it. Yeah.
I mean, literally, I got up when I stood up to walk to the shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a crowd of people coming towards me, because this all happened in a very compressed length of time. And I got up. And was, "You okay? You okay?"
Nobody believed that.
What's broken?
They were all in shock watching you get up. Yeah.
And I said, "No,
Wow.
I'm fine. I got a little bit of road rash, and that's it." And so now the $64,000 question is, will my motorcycle start? I'm 700 miles from home, or 800 miles from home. So we lifted up my 1,000-pound Harley, put the windscreen back on, half a crank, went, it started.
Oh my God.
But I had $7,000 worth of cosmetic damage to the whole right side, and
Oh my God.
and then when I left, I'm 4 miles outside of Friona, Texas, on US 60, US 70, and at Clovis the road splits. 60 goes southwest, 70 keeps going. So I'm supposed to go southwest. I'm supposed to be going to Roswell, and I get out. And I'm riding. It's getting dark. I got to Fort Sumner, and I said, "No, none of this looks right." So I pulled out my map. I still use paper maps, and I can read. I can just glance at them and know exactly where I'm at and where I should be going.
Yeah.
So I went down. I think it's New Mexico, either Highway 20 or Highway 120.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told later that is the least traveled road in the state of New Mexico. And if I had hit an armadillo or had a blowout or something like that, I'd probably still be laying on the side of the road. So the only people who go there are when they go to the bombing range.
Oh my. And there were a lot of them out there too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
So,
Wow.
but so not knowing, having your brain blank out when you know it's going to be a terrible experience.
You probably tried to leave your body for a minute, honestly. You probably did.
I
And then
probably
when you
did
realized
too.
you were going to keep going, you came back. Wow.
And the fact that I walked away literally with no injuries. I had a bruise on my left shoulder.
Uh-huh.
I had a square bruise on my butt that was shaped just like this.
Wow.
and my left heel was torn up. So I had a 3-point landing when I hit. And
Wow.
I put my wallet back in my pocket. So it was, I understand when people blank out and say, "Well, I don't remember any of that," because I have a real good memory, and I was trying to, just sort of not enjoy the moment, but try to remember what the hell's happening to me,
Yeah.
and my brain wouldn't let me do it.
No.
So it's a self-defense mechanism
Yeah.
to keep you from being too traumatized. I wasn't traumatized at all. It was just oh shit, I didn't want to go this way. That was my only comment.
Well, the old mind heard you and went, "Okay, we'll give him a pass."
And I don't have any problems with dying. I had The day Challenger blew up, I was at Mayo Clinic under anesthesia for 11 hours, going through 9.5 hours of brain surgery. And I was told I wasn't going to make it. And I've already come to that realization, and I'm not afraid of dying. I don't want to, but I'm not fearful of dying. That's probably the
Right,
way
you don't
best way to
die.
look at it.
Well, the point is you don't die. Your body ends.
Yeah.
Your body passes away, and all the energy that your body gathers itself up and then goes back to you. And then if you come back again, that energy comes forward and you follow it.
Well,
So,
I know I've been around 3 or 4 times. And
more
I
than that, I
know,
guarantee it. Yeah.
and I know I was probably the most significant time of my life. And I have just little things that sort of burst in and burst away. I know I was a French aristocrat during the French Revolution, and there's a movie with John Malkovich and Michelle Pfeiffer and Glenn Close called Dangerous Liaisons.
I remember that. I saw that. Yeah.
And I honestly believe I was in real life, I was a John Malkovich type character.
Okay.
Because I ended up working for 5 French-speaking companies, 2 out of Quebec, and 2 out of Switzerland, and then one out of Brittany in Western France. And I remember I was taking a bunch of my engineers. I forget where we were going, but we were in Rennes, and I think we were heading towards London. And one of the guys said, "Yeah, I'm really hungry." I said, "Well, I think the next town, I know, is a real nice little cafe that we have to go to." I'd never been there before, but I knew exactly where I was at.
Wow. Can you speak French?
Not a word. I can read technical French. I wanted to learn French, and they said, "No, I don't want you to learn French. We want to learn English." So everything was done in English, but there's technical French that's just like English. It's a fairly easy, if you're just looking at the specifications, a volt or an ohm or a switch or whatever. Basically, when you're looking at a schematic, whether they're in English or whether they're in French, there's not that much difference.
No.
So, but I understand the not knowing. Now, when my late friend John Lear, when he was flying for America Transair, he went in and he tracked down 15 people that had been abducted at a certain point in their life. And he would go to, and none of the 15s had any connection with any of the other of the 15. And they weren't very, very smart. They were just average, everyday citizens of this great country. And he would go to it. He would contact them, make arrangements to come and interview them, and ask their permission. He said, "I'm going to pay for it, but I'm going to get a qualified hypnosis that specializes in deep hypnosis and really drawn out, things that are deep, dark recesses of your mind."
Okay.
And he said, of the 15, 13 of them had almost the same exact experience. They didn't have this. They didn't have the recall that you had. He said, but two of the 15s were full of baloney. He could tell by their answers that there's no way that they had been abducted. So that's
just so y'all know, Lynn knows this about me. I hate that word, abduction. It's actually contact. They're contacting everybody, and they have an agenda, and it's not a bad one. It's they're trying to keep us healthy. Our pulse started excursioning 100 years ago. About 80 years ago, it started to become critical. We have incoming gamma radiation on us because our magnetosphere is going down, and it's letting the radiation in. We're at 40% right now down, and it affects our DNA. And we know that for a fact because NASA did that big old experiment with 2 identical twin brother astronauts.
Yeah, and unfortunately, one of them is our senator. So.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Anyway. Okay. So
Reminds me of Dr. Evil, or what was the character that Gene Hackman played in one of the Supermans?
oh, yeah.
And he reminds me of that. And I just,
Yeah.
I don't, bald-headed guys. Oh, sorry, Preston. Well, you still have a little. You still have a little bit on the side, though.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
All our contact is them trying to keep our DNA healthy.
Wow.
In the 60s and 70s, everybody on this planet realized that males were becoming infertile. You know, their sperm counts were going down to nothing. And that was a serious issue. So they started bolstering that up. You know, people talk about, well, I went on board and they wanted my sperm. You bet. They're keeping an eye on you. They want your DNA. They're checking your DNA to make sure you're okay. And they have helped everybody on this planet at one time or another. They don't get too involved because we still have karma here. We're here for a reason. And they can't get, we are autonomous beings. They can't interfere with what we're learning. They expect us to evolve, okay? So they're doing best they can. They have a plan, and what's coming at us in the future is significant and important to them. And so that's why they're holding us out. They want us to survive so that we can get past some calamities that are coming, and then they're going to get us the hell out of here.
Right. I got a question as far as affecting your DNA. You know, I'm not a clinical biologist or specialist in that area.
Yeah.
But it's been said for the last 2 years that the jabs that a lot of people have gotten for this COVID-19, it affects your DNA.
It's a RNA DNA shot, and what it does is that it tells your DNA to alter slightly to make a protein that will fight against a certain protein that's in that virus. It targets it, and your DNA is altered to make that transition to fight that protein. What they're finding out now is the seriousness of this situation is this. They went to the original variant. They have not made an RNA DNA changer for any of the
other variants.
Correct. And what's happening is that now we're getting jabbed more and more. You're getting boosters for the original variant. They're wearing your immune system out while they're doing this. And now a lot of the physicians around the globe are saying, don't give them any more boosters. They can't handle it. Our bodies will react badly to that, and it'll shut us down. In other words, we'll become we'll develop immune disaffective disorders because we won't be able to fight anything because our immune systems will be pooped out from being hit so hard with those RNA DNA changers. So it's a situation, and I hope that they have their brains on straight about it. I have my opinions, you know.
Yeah, and but once your DNA has been altered, that will probably render you infertile.
No. What it is doing to people, it's very clearly doing certain things. It's causing congestive heart failure problems. The pericardium swells up. You develop a disaffective immune response to it. In other words, your immune system attacks you instead. And people are dropping dead of heart failure because of it. It causes mental problems. It can mess with your brain, and it can mess with your nervous system and a couple other things. So yeah, it's playing with genetics of anybody. All humans have different DNA. It's the same kind of DNA, but we all dial up differently. We're fingerprints, every one of us. Okay. So if you have one RNA DNA recombinant for everybody, that doesn't fit. You can't expect everybody to react exactly the same way to it. It's impossible. And they didn't tell the truth about that up front either. A lot more people would have said, oh, no, you're not messing with me with that stuff. So now we've got lots of people who are on the verge of, if there's another variant out there that switches and gets even worse, there's going to be a huge problem with that. So they're trying to figure it out. I think now they're going to try to go to actual vaccines for it. I know that they've been trying ever since this all started to do a regular quote unquote vaccine. So we'll see.
They've been trying to find a vaccine for the common cold, which is also a COVID variant. And they've been looking for 60 years or 70 years or longer.
Well, your body is all viruses. I mean, we have so many symbiotic viruses in us, bacterias, probacterias, you know, not everything is bad. We have a lot of, your body is mostly comprised of elements and bacterium and viruses in your body that hold up you up. You're functioning symbiosis of everything.
Mhm.
And so yeah, viruses are common. They're the most common thing on this planet. And if you keep treating them with antibiotics, or you know, it's gonna redo them, and they'll change. You know, they'll get better. They figure it out. These viruses are coded to do that. They're coded to get better than what you're aiming at them, so that they can stay in the host. They don't want to kill the host. They just want to stay to replicate. And so yeah.
But on this RNA shot, jab, whatever you want to call it, this is something that was created by man.
Yes,
And
it's a gain of function variant. It's exactly right. Wuhan took the original SARS-2, and messed with it, and they used gain of function technology to recreate that virus into a tougher strain. They did it, you bet, and it's a fact. And now they got the monkeypox. Do you realize that? There's the monkeypox is at Wuhan, and they're working on it. I don't know what they're thinking, honest to God.
And yeah, monkeypox is a direct contact, and right now it appears to be primarily in the gay lifestyle area.
No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't hang that on them at all. Not at all. No,
that's what they're saying in New York. That
well, they're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. If you have sex, male or female, it doesn't matter who you are. You're going to get that. You're going to get that. It's very virulent. I'm a nurse. I was trained in monkeypox very young, and it is one of the most virulent viruses there are, like smallpox. And you can get it just by touching somebody or sitting where they sat. That's BS. That is a lie. That is an absolute disinformational lie. Okay? Don't believe that.
You mean our news readers are not telling us the truth?
No. Yeah.
How could you say that? I mean, it's
you get enough nurses who come from my generation. I'm 64 years old. We all know very well what this is. Okay? And we know it's how it's transmitted. And it's not 100% mortality rate free. There is a certain mortality rate. It's about 4%. And it just depends on who you are and how bad you get it. And it's a variation of smallpox that came from humans originally, went to the monkey population, and it came back on us. So yeah. You know, it's serious.
Yeah.
So Dolly, I have a question for you, just to slightly change the subject from monkeypox.
Okay.
As fascinating as it is. Actually, viruses are really fascinating. But somebody wanted to know who your star family was, and I know, but I wanted to let you tell them.
My star family is the tall grays and the Nordics. I'm a little bit of both. I probably also have a little bit of Anunnaki in me. I come from those peoples, yes.
So now the Nordics, we've heard that kind of like catchphrase for, like the tall Nordic looking ETs. Where are they supposedly from?
They're from our galaxy, and they're from, I'm not supposed to say exactly. They have real rules about this for me, okay? But they're deep in the galaxy. They're way deep in. They're like almost on the other side, okay, from us. If you were going to go due east of us in the galaxy, that's where they're at. And they've been around a long time. They're long-lived. They're very tall beings. They live on a planet that has less gravity than we do. They're analytical. They're very scientific. And they have a very serious social class system that they don't brook any interference in it whatsoever. So that's who they are.
Okay.
What I find interesting about this whole field is that all the people, pretty much without exception, who report seeing ETs report humanoids. Grays are not that far removed from us. Many people have been told flat out that we.
Oh no! Every time Preston has something to say.
we actually have the same DNA as the Greys, all the Greys. We can interbreed with them and the Nordics. Okay, we have a hybridization between the two in the last 50 years, and it's to bolster us up and them as well, because they're not unaffected by the radiation changes in the universe. Every system in our galaxy, in our galaxy is changing. We have an electromagnetic current sheet slicing through us right now, and what's happening to us is happening to them. So they're putting up with a lot of stuff too. So yeah, they had a long period of time where they weren't exactly very fertile either. So
I have heard that. So now, when so say the Nordics, since they're seemingly very far from us, how do they travel here? Do they get here via like a wormhole type situation?
no, I'm going to give you some astronomy lessons. This is my pet peeve. Okay, y'all are out there. You don't know. There are no such things as wormholes. They do not exist.
No, Dolly, don't. I love the idea of a wormhole.
No. I'm going to tell you what it really is. Okay. There's also no such thing as a black hole. What you're seeing is a type of quasar that is so bright it turns black. Okay, it is almost a garbage eater. It's like a gravity well, like you would think a black hole is, but it's not, because it not just takes things in, it crunches it up, and then it spits it right back out. It is the recycler of the universe. When a star implodes on itself and it bursts out, you will see what they think is a black hole forming. It's just a young quasar. That's all it is. They have proof for that. It is on the internet right now, and I'm starting to push it because I'm tired of hearing it. Okay. Every time I say something, everybody goes crazy on me, and it's got to stop. I'm telling you the truth. There are astrophysicists all over this planet who want the truth to come out. They've been suppressed. It's time. We're going to open a new door. Okay. They've also proven that the Big Bang did not happen. This is a universe. Our universe is constantly moving and doing its own thing, and it recycles itself. It builds new star nurseries. It's never going to go cold. It is eternal. It will never stop. We have 12 dimensions in our universe. You live in a 12-dimensional space. You have everybody. We're communicating with one another, and your space is somehow connecting to mine during this transmission. Okay, and I can actually see stuff walking around you. People talk about having guardian angels. Those are dimensional beings who live in your space and interact with you. They care about you. They love you. They see you all the time. And if you're going to do something colossally dumb, sometimes they'll step in and go, no, you need help right now. And they will help you. There are different kinds of beings throughout the universe, and some of them are highly, highly advanced. When I say dimensional being, these are beings who can travel in and out of dimensions. We're in a 3D dimension. The entire mainframe of our universe is physical. It's all of it is in the third dimension. Okay. The 12 dimensions exist within that physical mainframe. Okay. Think about computer. Okay. You have software that thinks. We're consciousness. Okay. Inside that software in our universe. These beings that I'm talking about, Greys, tall Nordics, mantids, I can go on and on and on and on. These beings are so highly evolved that they've learned to travel interdimensionally. They are beings of light. They understand that you're light, I'm light, we're all light. Here, it's all densely packed. We're in a gravity-heavy environment. You can't see the little teeny spaces between the light that you are. You're also cut off from it because you're not using your psychic abilities. You can't see them or hear them. They can't see you, or, well, they can see you, but they don't hear you talking to them. They can only watch you and things like that. ET's greatest wish, and this is what I've come forward to say, is everybody needs to stop believing nonsense, realize that you've been trashed educationally for a long time, okay? And the truth just needs to come out, and we are now on a campaign. There are thousands like me who are pushing for the truth, because you're being sold down the river for one thing, and that is they want to control you. They have dominion over your life. They don't want it any other way. And we have big things coming, and they don't want you to know about it. And they will do anything they can to keep you from it, because they have plans for everybody who does not matter to them. And it's bad, it's big. And everybody needs to wake up. That's the message. Serious message. Not playing around.
Where can people go then to find, you said some of this information, like
okay.
on the internet, where can you find it?
Okay, I post it on my Chit Chat channel. I'm going to start now promoting my channel. It's all there. Seriously. It's called Chit Chat by Dolly S. And it's all scientific stuff. Okay, go look for it.
Is that on YouTube?
Yep. Okay. No, it's in my Facebook. It's Chit Chat, CHITCHAT by Dolly S. Okay. And they're all the places that you can go to learn this stuff. Connections, tools, knowledge, all of it. Okay. I've been doing this for the last 3 years. It's all there. Go look. Okay. I can give you 2 right off the bat if you just need to understand what's happening to us right now. And that is, you go to suspiciousobservers.com. That's a scientist. He's a self-taught scientist, but it doesn't matter whether he's got a degree or not. The guy is smarter than all of us. And then there's Dr. Robitaille, and he has got a channel on, both of them have YouTube channels. And he calls himself the Sky Scholar. Robitaille's got the proof about the Big Bang and about black holes. He's got all the math on it. He has the scientists who did it. It went into the scientific record. They couldn't refute him. It's true. Okay. But they suppressed him. He's finally gotten his hand back on the work, and he's holding on to it because he has the proof. And he's got it in several places that you can't get it from him now. It's going to come out. It has to. Because y'all are stinking thinking. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be mean about it. But there comes a day where you just call a spade a spade. And y'all need to learn what's real and what's not. And I'm telling you, there are no wormholes. There are no portals. No such thing. Okay? There are light gates. They know how to bend light and open a dimensional doorway between dimensions. And that's how they travel. They're that advanced.
Isn't that like just
no?
As far as like conceptually, what a portal is? It's just
no, because the portal. When you say portal, you all think like wormholes. You think you're going to go down somewhere and you got a little trip to take.
I think a doorway.
Okay, well, it's a gate. It's a light gate. It's not a doorway. It doesn't open like a door. It's a gate. Okay. In other words, they remove the dimensional space between us. In other words, they open a gate and they go through it. And when you see it, physically see it, it's pure light coming through that gate, and it spills in on us. Our dimension is so heavy that the dimensional space comes in with us. You can see it lipping over and coming in. They hold it open long enough to go through it, and they're already where they're going to be when they go through. And they sometimes travel in numbers, and it's the last guy going through shuts the gate. They can do that gate anywhere. If you've got an ET on the ground and he's got enough power to create that gate, and it takes a lot of power, by the way, he can do it. It's usually a 5th dimensional being that is like key for here. Okay. They do come here. They do interact among us. They hang out with us. They do all kinds of stuff. Right now, it's not really happening because of what's going on. That's the other big problem. We're on our own right now. They have bugged out. They cannot handle the magnetosphere anymore. It crashes them. They go down. You know, when you're on the ocean and you got a whirlpool going, you're going to go into the whirlpool no matter what you do. You can't fight that. And you've got energy that's spotty, dimes itself out, crashes and dives. They ride that like a surfboard, and they just can't be here for it. They do watch us dimensionally. They have dimensional beings on us. They also can remote view us. That's why remote viewing in our alt governments has been so completely insanely needed, because they know what's going on. They just don't want you to know what's going on. They don't want you to develop those abilities, because if you did, you would see what they're up to. Think about it. I mean, if you can remote view, you can just walk into the White House and sit there and listen to the meeting. Has nobody thought of that? Nobody? You know, I'm psychic. I've been taught that it's rude of me to go crawl inside your head. When I'm with you, I only listen to the top, what you're thinking on the top. Like if you were going to say just what's on your mind, that's what I hear. Okay, I won't go any deeper.
What's in my head, but it's just probably going to be like, what?
Yeah, I get a lot of that. I know.
Shame on you.
Yeah, no, I don't like. It's bad form. You just don't do it. It's wrong. You have a right to your privacy.
ETs are trying very hard to wake people up. If you look at contactees, you will see almost universally they are profoundly psychic. And this is partly, I think, because ETs do communicate telepathically, and that wakes up that ability. And people who have regular contact start having telepathy not only on board, but while they're on Earth. But they are absolutely trying to wake people up to their own, we call them supernatural abilities. They're not supernatural. Yeah. They're natural. And we can all do out-of-body travel. We can all do precognition, telepathy, hands-on healing, past life recall. All of this stuff is what they're trying to get us to wake up to. Because once we do, can you imagine humanity as a telepathic race? There would be no more lying, no more greed or corruption. We'd recognize that we are truly one. And that's really a main agenda.
Is that
I,
Scarlet?
I have a guest that just came in and she's leaving.
We can't see her because I think it's the screen behind you. It like blocks her out for some reason.
Let me see if I can lower it down. Come here, Scarlet. Come on.
Oh,
She's so cute. She's so cute.
is she a dog?
Yeah,
she is. She's visible right now. I can't see her.
No,
Darling.
she's a German Shepherd rescue.
Oh, pretty baby.
Oh, she's a beautiful girl.
Hey, Scarlet. What you doing? Hey, come here,
You want puppies? Yeah.
Scarlet.
Yeah.
We don't get a view of Miss Scarlet very often, but
No, and well, I usually have to close the door because she has an internal clock that tells her that at 5:30 or 6 o'clock.
Don't spell it. We already know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's time for us all to be together. That's her.
that's what she's telling you. Yeah.
That's her pack, and she knows it. And she's a good girl.
She is a beautiful, beautiful girl. So, Preston, now when you first met Dolly, like what struck you about her story and you were just like, I have to write a book about this woman? I mean, granted, we know Dolly's amazing, but like what was it that you were just kind of like, yes, I need to tell this story?
Yeah, I knew pretty early on that Dolly's story was different from other people I've interviewed.
No, every time he there you are. I think you're back. I think you're fine. Maybe just like sign it because when you're not talking, you're totally fine.
I'm sorry.
I'll read it.
But yeah, I mean, it became clear to me that Dolly's story was, well, I mean, now I know, I can say with full confidence, her life story with ETs is the most extensive I've ever had the opportunity to research and explore. There are a lot of people who do have full conscious contact, but the vast majority don't, or certainly a lot of them don't. And even those that do still have a lot of fear surrounding this. But as Dolly began to talk about being taken to other planets, that is something I don't hear a lot of. Most of what she said I've heard of, being taken on board motherships, being taught how to fly. That's a big part of Dolly's story. Being present when other people are being taken on board and healed. We talked a lot about that in the book because healing is a major ET agenda. I think a lot of people are being healed and don't even realize it. They don't recognize it. The ETs don't,
We got more out of them than we had.
But yeah, Dolly's story is truly, I mean, she spent not only days on board a craft or at their planet, but weeks at a time. So this is something I just don't hear a lot of. And she was able to really answer a lot of the questions. Like a lot of people talk about AI grays, little short guys, like they don't have any emotions. And I had a lot of questions about this because I certainly hear it a lot.
It's because they are, they're AI, they're artificial intelligence, okay? They're somewhat biological, but they have no sex. In other words, they're not male or female. You could turn them on or off. Their programming is such that they can learn and they can teach themselves as well. They're very, very intelligent, but they have no personality really at all because they're just AI, okay? And so it kind of weirds people out. What I try to tell people is when you come in contact with one, ask it a question. Literally expect an answer and it will tell you. They can talk, okay? They can talk psychically and they can move their mouths, yeah.
So I had an interaction it was the first one that I ever remember. It was with a mantis and two little grays. And I remember the little grays as being very curious and childlike. And so I've always wondered, because I heard that, that they were like Niagara. They weren't. They had personalities. Were they maybe just young grays that I happened to see?
Yeah, you could have met a young gray. You could have met like a teenager. They're really, really short.
There's two of them. Yeah, they were like peering up. I think I was on a table. That's what it looked like from my perspective. They were like peering up over.
Yeah, they reach statushood probably about the age of 12. In other words, they're treated like adults at that age, 12 years in, but they're very, very small and they're very thin. So yeah, if you meet one that's curious as heck and it wants to look at you, and it's, I mean, like a cat curious. Oh yeah, that's a young gray.
Yeah, they were
Definitely young
very
gray.
cute. They're very
Yeah.
cute. Like they didn't scare me at all. They seemed
Yeah.
very sweet. But
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
So
they-
evidently there are wormholes. Enzo says Preston's internet uses wormholes and is having an existential crisis at the moment.
I'm in
Enzo,
a wormhole right now. Yeah.
No, we had a CME and the solar wind's pouring it on us right now. It's messing stuff up. Yeah.
there was another question for you, Dolly. Hold on, let me go back and find it.
Okay.
Angel Wings wants to know, does Dolly know about the guardian angel starseeds, the archangels helping in human form?
Okay. There is a race of ET that look just like angels, no doubt about it. They are interdimensional beings. They can come in with us easily. They somehow managed to figure that out a long time ago, and they do work with us. They do carry messages back and forth when things are going bad, and you will see more of them coming up after that bad CME. They will actually come back and help with the situation. Yes. So if you see an archangel in the sky, yeah, I guarantee you that's an ET coming in. So
Yeah, I talked to a lady in Maine. She had regular contact, and the ETs told her flat out, "Who you thought were angels was us." And they got, oh gosh, 20 cases of people who've been saved from car accidents. There was a motorcycle accident. Jim, hearing you talk about your thing reminded me of a case involving a lady, a real estate agent, who crashed her motorcycle in the Wasatch Mountains in New Jersey. And it was a very isolated road late at night, and 2 grays showed up. She was fine, but this is an isolated road. She was trapped, and her motorcycle had the old Kickstarter. She couldn't start it. It was all bent up. And these grays came, picked up her bike, and fixed her motorbike. Yes. And this is a really good witness. I mean, she was a psychiatrist and a real estate agent. I got to know her really well. She's now passed. But it's one of many cases of people saved from car accidents, drowning, falls, weather events, assault. Oh, gosh, I mean, I could go on. They will rescue people in a wide variety of situations. I think a lot of people might have the tendency to label them as angels because they're saving them.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. I did see one time that looked like an angel, like our stereotypical angel, except he didn't have white wings. They were brown, like a robin. Like that
oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe like an Anunnaki. Anunnaki have brown
Looks like
wings.
a human
Yeah.
otherwise, you know. But,
Yes, absolutely. Anunnaki look like that. Yep.
Oh, do they?
Yes. They have wings, by God.
Oh, did they? I've
They're
never.
brown. Yep.
So now, what
You've
is the
never
real?
seen Sumer pictorials of Anunnaki?
Yeah.
Do some homework. No kidding.
Okay.
They're out there. Okay.
All right, I will look and see, and I'll let you know. I'll be like, that's the one I saw. No.
Yeah.
So now, the Anunnaki, we always hear those associated with the Sumerians, right? So is that kind of like the original story that we have about the Anunnaki, or is that mixed up?
Well, we got a lot of history to talk about. Let's just talk about this history right now with us, this iteration. And I say iteration for a reason. The last 12,000 years of existence on this planet, our people have been here, all our people. And the Anunnaki are the beginning of it. Okay, they were here when we were brought back from the last calamity. Every 12,000 years, our sun does micronova. Our planet will do a flop over because our orbit is just not stable. We wobble. It's because the innards of our planet are bulging. This all occurred long before that, about 280 million years before that, because Mars was in the catbird seat. That's where we all were to begin with. Okay. One of the reasons that Saturn is such a big deal to them is there are hints, there's clues in that planet and its rocks and its rings about what happened to us. There's a lot of proof sitting on it there. There was another planet here that was totally obliterated. Mars got the whole entire outside of the planet was hit so hard it exploded off. Mars is dead core now. There is no activity on that planet whatsoever except outgassing. If you see a smoke ring or a water vapor somewhere or even a little bit of ice, that's because everything is crushing in on it. It can't protect itself from gravity pushing in on it anymore, and it's outgassing. It even has magma come up every now and then because those rocks are getting hot in there. So dead planet. Earth was a sister planet to Mars. In other words, we're smaller. Mars was way bigger than it is now because it's lost so much. We were on the other, in the same, almost the same orbit, slightly different, but on the other side. We followed one another. Very rarely did we conjunct. And then the other planet that was there, Earth had dinosaurs on it, probably, I call them lizard people, reptilians. Okay, they somehow survived it. The reptilians did, I'm pretty sure. So they got everybody off Mars. But long before that happened, they knew it was coming. They got everybody out. They looked at the situation in our solar system and they saw Earth, and it went into the sweet spot. It had beautiful vegetation. It had no more dinosaurs on it. It had water. It had everything for life. And they did the calculations and they knew it wobbled. They knew it was going to have a problem, but it had seasons. It wasn't a fixed seasonal planet. It was rotating. The moon was rotating with us, and it gave us seasons. So they decided this is a really good place for us to come. They've been fighting this every 12,000 years, though, since that happened. The Noah event is a 6,000-year event, and that's when the flop comes. The wobble of us. The planet literally lays over, okay? And the first thing that happens is all that wind starts up, it cuts through everything, and then the water sloshes everywhere. But we've got more than that going on because right now our sun is heating up, we're going to solar maximum. Our magnetosphere is down because everything's changing polarity, and we have a current sheet coming through, which adds to the disaster of it. And our sun is now headed almost into full maximum. So we have a whole bunch of things coming at us. We have all these diseases starting up, all these cancers, autoimmune, brain problems, heart problems. You've seen them get worse and worse and worse. People say, why are we getting sicker and sicker? That's why. The gamma is destroying our DNA. Then you're going to see catastrophes planet-wide. You're already starting to see it. Just so you know, there's no such thing as global warming. There is and there isn't, not for the same reason they say there is. Our core is heating up. It's in full friction because the poles are so messed up. The mantle is in opposition to the planet. The planet goes faster and slower. We're right now less than 24 hours long, and we keep hitting gyrations where it's pulling our mantle loose. That's hot. It heats the ground up. You see fire start. Hell, hot weather, you name it. It's a problem. That's going to get worse and better. You're going to start seeing also, because the poles melted now pretty much, the Atlantic has now got enough cold energy, freshwater energy, that we're going to slide back into an ice problem. It's going to get colder in the winters again. You're going to see more hurricanes. You're going to see more earthquakes, more volcanoes. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse until that CME, that X-class CME, hits us and knocks us straight back to the Stone Age. And it will. I promise you it will. 10 miles straight deep into our mantle. It's not a joke. It's coming. They've planned, all governments of this planet have planned to survive this, the 1%. They've all gone underground. They've got hidey holes. They've got storage. You know that, Lynn. They've got seed depositories. They're ready. You want to know why we don't have enough food? They're diverting food right now because we're right on it. It could happen anytime. Okay. Now, what do you think they're going to do if this happens and we all still got guns and we have the population that we do? What do you think will happen? We will freaking fight them for it because we all know where they are. Okay. That's what's going to happen because of that. They plan to off us. They have been doing genocide all over this planet, controlled genocide, and it's going to get worse. And all ET wants you to do is wake up so you can hear the truth, protect yourself, save food, save water, get a type of home or pull wire out of your house. Because when that CME hits your house, it's going to burn straight to the ground because all those wires are going to burn. And if you don't believe me, look at the Carrington event. We were young in our ability to wire things up then. We just had telegraph, but every wire around the world burned down. All the telegraph offices went with it. It was major. They downplay it, but it's not true. It annihilated the telegraph system. We've had other CMEs recently that have hit that were right in everybody's face and they're not telling the truth about it. You remember when Starlink was going up and they had those 3 satellites go in the air? Honey, that was the CME hitting them. It took them out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is that why our entire solar system is going through kind of
Yes. Yeah. Right. Neptune was the last planet where the poles finally finished changing and it went straight into an ice age. Did they tell you that? No. You know what they're doing? They're betting on who's next. It's either going to be Saturn or Uranus. I'm watching it because my bet's on Saturn. Okay. Click, 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 click. It's happening.
But our poles have, the polarity of our poles have been moving at a rapid pace. I mean, it used to be inches. Now it's miles per year.
It's going faster and faster and faster and faster. And when they flip, that's when the worst of it's going to be, because our magnetosphere will be at its most dangerous moments. It will be so down at that point that anything incoming on us, space is dangerous. I'll tell you a secret. ET does not like to be in space. That's why they're AI. Okay. The AI do all the grunt work for them in space. They take all the gamma for them. If they come to see us, they like to stay inside a magnetosphere where they're safe. All the planets that have cores active, it's throughout the universe. All planets that can sustain life have a healthy, active magnetosphere, and it's safe to be in it. You're protected from gamma radiation. So they have helpers out there working on it. The reason that light travel or light gates, is so wonderful is you do it just like that in less than a second. You're across. There's no time and space where you're being bombarded. When ET makes contact with us here, they don't fly out and, some people tell me, oh, wow, they must go out into space and take care of us and bring us back. Oh, no, they do not. We stay down. We're in the magnetosphere. We're protected while we work with you, and then we get the heck out. Okay, that's just the way it is. These are truths that y'all need to get foundationally stuck with in your head so you understand that what's coming at us is no joke. We have a government that's planning on starving us, taking away all our fuel, herding us into cities where they can do whatever the hell they want to us. Think about that. Okay, now here's the good news about this. I'm going to stop because Preston's thinking it. I hear him in my head right now. There's good news. The good news is this. We are all beings of light. We never die, okay? And just because this body goes somewhere doesn't mean you die. You go on. It's better on the other side. Trust me. So whatever you have to live here, your karma, whatever it is you need to learn and then move on, get it done. Figure it out. Don't be afraid of this. This is a natural progression of everything. Whether you make it to go with ET or whether you move on to greener pastures, it's all good. Okay. That's what the government doesn't want you to know. Yeah.
This is really good news for us. And I know this sounds like a lot for people to take. ETs have been warning us since the beginning, since the 1950s. It's been the same message. We are looking at some hard times ahead.
There he goes again. We lost him again. Yeah. I think ET's up there saying zap, zap.
I know. Somebody's just got the pause button on poor Preston every time.
I'm back. Back.
Okay, good. We can hear you. There you are.
But yeah, this is good news because the path we're on is not sustainable.
Correct.
We cannot continue living with such greed and corruption and divisiveness and unequal distribution of wealth. This is not the way we're supposed to be living. And I can tell you, having talked to many contactees, the vast majority of them who have any good degree of recall have dreams or visions or were directly told that there's going to come a day when ETs land en masse and take people off our planet. And Dolly talks quite a bit about this. She was told this. This is part of her mission.
That's right. I've trained for it. It will be aboard, and I will be calling people on board. Yep.
Yeah, this is
that like the end of? Is it like the end of days?
I promise. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry. Don't live in fear. Fear is not helpful. Yeah. We're gonna be fine no matter what happens. Yeah, we go through some hard times. Look at human history. Has it ever been easy? No.
Have we lived with wars, famines, plagues, you name it? Yes. It's just that time goes so slowly for us that we forget. We get isolated from that history. And right now, all our history is really being denied us. I mean, the truth about everything is just going away, Right. So, yeah, but you're an eternal being. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat this. You're okay. You're good. I look at it as a challenge, okay? Everything I do is a challenge. I want to tell you something. You're going to be the first to hear it because it's you, Lynn, okay? Somebody tried to MyLab me the other day. I was coming up out of sleep. I couldn't wake up. I was like, what the heck's going on? And the next thing I'm somewhere else in my head. And I was in a room with a chair, and some intimidating looking guy walks in, agent, and he gets right up in my face and he starts doing the scenario of what I'm going to get in trouble for, blah, 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 blah. And I'm staring at him and I'm thinking, Jesus, you don't know who you're talking to. And I'm looking at him, and he realized I wasn't reacting to him at all. And he started to become physically threatening with me. And I looked at him and I said, A, you can't touch me. And B, you don't know what I'm capable of. I know who you are. And he went like this. And I said, run. And it stopped. Okay. And that's how y'all need to take this attitude. When something negative comes at you, counter it. Okay. Don't attack it, but tell it you're out of here, or I will react to you. And it won't be pretty, because good overcomes evil. Always. You shine your light energy. You shine. It will repel them instantly. You know?
Yeah. That's true. That's true. And I had a similar sort of experience. I think I had told you about this, where it was in February, this past February, I was dreaming a very, very lucid dream. I knew I was asleep. And then this guy came up behind me, started humming in one ear and started like moving around, humming. And my breathing started to get really short and shallow. And I realized I was physically breathing like that, like in my bed as well. And so I was just like, nope, and woke myself up, and all of it ended. So, you know, you're absolutely right. Like, I think it's important to remember, like, we have this within us to take control of the situation as well.
We may be a flock of birds, but we're big badass birds, okay? And we can take it. It's okay, you know? Fly. I mean, you have ability to do that. I mean, you have the ability to repel almost anything, you know? And if you want to be here, work at being here. If you're got karma to work out your karma, heal yourself. Number one thing everybody should be doing is healing any damage you got from this lifetime. Get it over with, get it done, get her done, you know?
So that is another question I had for you too, because people ask me as well, like, you know, when you have been involved with, like, and they ask me this personally, like, since I was involved with MK Ultra and like the Secret Space program, you know, and there are kind of physical repercussions that, like, now that I'm in my 40s, and I know a lot of other people have too, like, we now have these conditions, and people are like, well, why won't the ETs heal you from that? And I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Like,
because you actually came here to experience that. This is your life. This is your lesson. Everything you learn in a physical realm is potential wisdom on you. Once you own that wisdom, you can employ it. As I've just said, I can make it go away. I can make them stop, leave me alone. I have the strength to avoid, push it back, and do the things that I know I need to be doing for myself. Okay? We have to be caretakers, first of ourselves, and then of our brothers and sisters all around us, okay? But you can't help anybody till you help yourself. And if you're afraid, if you're walking around, you need to work on it. And that is karma, and you need to work at it. You're doing it, though. I'm watching you. You're doing a good job, okay?
Did I tell you I have a physical therapist who told me, this was a couple years ago because I have back problems, and she's like, well, the problem with your back is that you don't do well with gravity. And I was like, I live on Earth. How can I not do well with gravity?
Because we ain't from here. That's true. I know. My dad, when I was growing up, I'm not kidding you, contact used to do this with one another, especially families of them. We had the gravity club, okay? And it went by height. The taller you are, the more gravity you had. So you were given not the chores that expressly attack the gravity in your back, okay? So we all had different chores according to our height. He was serious about it, and he meant what he said. And I never forgot that. And as I got older and I experienced less gravity, I went, oh, I get it now. Okay. You know, oh my God. And yeah, we're not from here, Lynn. We're not.
Well, I'm not that tall either. Like,
it doesn't matter. You're still not from here. We are not from here. This is like a temporary, this is a depot in life. You know, we just come here to train. That's it. You know, learn and train.
That's amazing. Somebody had actually, there were a couple questions. There was one that wasn't like so much a question, but I'm curious as to what you think of this too. Grandmasters, it seems legit. I think the aliens are down in the ground or the sea.
They have been, yes. Yeah. Preston's written a couple books about that. He knows way more than I do about it.
Yeah, I mean, our oceans are filled with these things. They have that ability, so why wouldn't they? We don't have anything officially, you know, flying submarines, so to speak. But these craft can not only go into water, they can go into solid land. They are transmedium vehicles. They have that ability.
Right.
I don't think people realize how truly advanced these guys are. They are far, far beyond us. And all these crash retrievals, and we're trying to reverse engineer. It's kind of a joke because we will never catch up.
Right.
Largely because these are, psychically run, and we're just not at that level. Certainly not yet.
I'll tell you a secret. The ETs really love the fact that we're doing this, okay? But they don't love the fact that we're proliferating nuclearly. Okay, now, in other words, we're using these as evil, not good. And that's, got them teed off pretty good. They don't want to see that happening because every time you explode a nuke, everything in that dimensional space is hurt. That means people die in our space, their dimension, and all the way up. You don't realize you're killing people all the way through 12 dimensions. That's annoying, okay? That's really annoying to them. And they want us to stop. And our bloodlust is not a good thing for them at all. They want to see us scientifically advanced. They want us to evolve emotionally. They want us to evolve spiritually. They want us to evolve morally, okay? And learn as much as we can learn. They would accept us with open arms if we reached up to them, if we did it. But they're not going to do it for us. It's our job. All entities must teach themselves and learn for themselves. And we're here in a cooperative effort, and we're being idiots. So, got to change.
It's the number one message, whether you're talking to human-looking ETs, praying mantis, greys, strange humanoids. If they tell you anything beyond, don't be afraid, we won't hurt you, you're going to be fine. It's going to be, why are you messing around with nuclear power? Why are you polluting your planet? You're choking your society with greed and corruption.
Right.
We're very, very concerned about this and have been for decades. This is not a message you would get from a demonic force, as some people think, or an evil alien's here to take over. Do not buy into the alien threat. It's not true. This is an agenda from our alt government trying to make ETs look bad. They are not here to take over. I mean, just think logically. If they really wanted to, we could not stop them.
We'd already be gone, yeah. Right.
And they're not doing that. So come on. We would know by now if they were truly hostile.
Yeah, and I feel the same way about, people are trying to say that we have to protect ourselves from ETs. They're going to kill us. They're evil, this and that. If they were truly evil, if they wanted to do a number on us, they've had 100,000 years to do it. And they have that capability. They've had
way more than, yeah.
They've had it from the beginning. They still have it today. I have a question as far as remote viewing that you may be able to answer. In my life, I've had a number of really significant dreams where they were almost too outrageous to talk about. One of them, I mentioned it to family members and my ex-wife off and on for 7 years. I told her I was to be in downtown San Francisco during a major earthquake. And I would not normally stay in San Francisco because I grew up in the Bay Area and I have family members there. But I pictured the whole thing. I pictured the full moon. I pictured the fact that it was warm. Actually, it was quite hot. It was 85 degrees the day the Lama Prieta earthquake started. But I told my ex-wife, I told her that off and on for 7 years. Every time I'd have that dream, I would tell it to her, and it just blew her away. But I also had another one, which it was too outrageous to share. And when it happened, I couldn't believe it. I had a dream for almost 10 years of wide-bodied airplanes crashing into the World Trade Center.
A lot of people did. You're not alone.
Very vivid, where I could literally see the markings on the aircraft, and I could see it crash. And it's
first of all, you're not remote viewing when you're doing that. You are going out of body. Everybody does at night. You should let Preston. Maybe we could send you one of his books. Okay, I will. I'm going to send you his book on OBE because that's what you're doing. You're actually leaving your body. You go outside the timeline. You go up into the upper realms. And you're able to see past events and future events coming. It feels like almost dreaming deja vu, but you're in OBE seeing it happening. And that's a great talent you already have right there. And you need to develop it. You need to be able to do that at will.
My
Remote
mom,
viewing is
yeah,
much different. Yeah.
throughout my entire youth, my mom's 100% Sicilian. She was born on Halloween. And I think she was born on Halloween for a reason. I mean, she could put a curse on you. But we would be sitting down having dinner or lunch or whatever. And Mom would say, it feels like earthquake weather. And within 24 hours, we would have a significant earthquake. Now, she didn't get 100% of them, but 100% of the ones she said, it feels like earthquake weather.
We're little barometers for that. We're little electromagnetic people, okay? You have an electromagnetic field all around your whole body, and you're sensitive to anything that disrupts it in any way. And there's pressure changes when earthquakes are coming. An electromagnetic field will start to, pulse out. It'll do EMPs and all kinds of stuff. It'll even cause you to get nauseous, dizzy, and everything. And I guarantee you she was feeling it psychically as well as physically. You're describing both. And so, yeah.
Yeah, there was a case in California involving a lady by the name of Clarissa Bernhardt, who was taken on board a craft. And the ET told her, she asked, "Why did you take me?" He said, "We are interested in your ability to predict earthquakes." She was a psychic. She was going on the radio and accurately predicting earthquakes. And this is an ability a lot of contactees have. All of us have it. I had that experience myself. I woke up right before a big earthquake in Big Bear, which hit the San Fernando Valley here. It was very widespread. And it was a double earthquake. I woke up before both of them. This is something we can all do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I track earthquakes or whatever, but I've been in a whole bunch of good sized ones. I mean, one of the biggest ones was on my birthday, on my 19th birthday. It was March 27th, 1964.
Wow. It's
called Anchorage, Alaska.
Wow.
9.2 for 5 minutes.
You see, I'm the tornado girl. Okay, I track tornadoes like crazy. I hate them, and I've been in some humdingies. Yeah, and I've always wondered, am I doing this on purpose? What the hell? Now I deliberately make sure I'm not going anywhere there's going to be a tornado. I'm not kidding. No more. Done.
I don't tend to attract any natural disasters. You, Preston?
Just earthquake. Dolly's talking about, we had a 3.0 earthquake. I'm like, 3.0, pshaw, I have those every day. That's nothing.
We were in Lachlan. First night in Lachlan. After I went to bed, Yvonne Watson was with me that night. And I said, "Yvonne, do you feel that?" And she said, "What?" I said, "I just felt this wave come over me. And I got sick to my stomach from it, dizzy." She said, I don't know if I feel that or not. And then she did. She finally it hit her. And the next day, when we went to the convention, the chandeliers all started going, and people like, I'm not sitting under that. And I'm like, what's going on? They said tremors. I was like, holy crap. And he doesn't think anything. He's like, okay, whatever. I'm like, oh my God, that's the earth moving, man. That scared me. That did give me pause. Okay. I was like, I ain't staying for this. It's crazy. I want to know what's under my feet.
I grew up with him, and we had earthquakes all the time, so kind of got used to him.
Yeah.
The San Andreas Fault was about 5 miles from our house. I grew up in the Mountain View, Los Altos area, and I remember a girl that I had a crush on. I think it's because her dad owned the Chevy dealership, and I was over at their house. It was in Woodside, and it was a copy of Mount Vernon, George Washington's home. And Mr. Hatch was very, very wealthy gentleman. And he was out doing some work in his yard, and he sees a surveyor. He's just sort of in a bowl. It's wooded area. He sees a surveyor up in one area, and cutting right through the middle of his house, he sees another surveyor on the other side of this valley he was in. So he's curious, so he went up, walked up the hill to the closest person and said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, we're mapping the exact center of the San Andreas Fault."
Oh my God!
It goes right through his foyer, right through his front door, out the back door.
Yeah.
He'll have a truly split level house someday.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a question right on the screen from Nancy, which is really interesting, regarding animals who do have the ability to sense earthquakes. Scientists have recognized this for a very long time. And in fact, there was a guy who tracked dogs running away from their owners and was able to predict earthquakes that way by lost pets. But what's really interesting with contactees and ETs and animals is I have yet to meet a contactee who does not have a special relationship with animals. Dogs and cats, complete strangers will walk up to them. There's a dog that lives next.
Uh-oh.
No.
Give him a minute.
Everybody. I mean, you can't walk by. And I'm walking by with Dolly, because she came to go to the convention up at UFOCon, and she stopped there and we drove up together.
This is a bastard dog. They didn't hear that, Preston. This dog don't like anybody. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
And we're walking by and the dog comes barking at me and then looks at Dolly and stops. Just looking at her. I'm like, oh.
I was like,
So I
hey,
started talking to the
dude,
dog.
be a good boy. I like you. And he's like, he came right up to the fence. And I'm not so stupid to stick my hand over, okay? I'm not that dumb. But he was communing with me, okay? And so every time we walked by that fence, he would just wag his tail then after that. And I said, Preston, you got to talk to this dog. He's dying for attention. And so he started doing that. And now the dog don't bark at you anymore, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So have you ever heard stories though? Like I've talked to other, mainly I think like Samantha Mowat, I talked with her about like ETs and animals, and she's talked about it too, because she has a bunch of animals too, but she said they have a hard time understanding like our concept of pets. Like they don't
No, not true. Not true. No, my parents got an ex-police dog, a retired police dog, to keep me from leaving the house because I kept disappearing. And her name was Heidi. And E.T. just said, take bringing the dog. So they took the dog with me. Heidi would run all over the place out there. People come up with their animals all the time. And when we leave here with them, we get to bring our pets. They're the gardeners of the universe. They take care of animals. They take care of flora, fauna. They love all life. They have really incredible relationships with all life. Yes.
Now, people that have a certain way with animals, does that identify them as someone who's more receptive to
yes,
ETs?
that shows your abilities. Yeah, right there.
I had an instance where I was in Puyallup, Washington with my wife. We're going to Costco, and there was a gentleman who's parked in a handicap parking, and he's talking to his 2 German Shepherds in the back of his Chevy Blazer. Now, I had German Shepherds. I lost them to a divorce.
Oh,
and I absolutely love them. And I never go up to anybody with a big dog without asking, can I come close? And I said, sir, can I come up to see your dogs? And he said, well, the male doesn't like anybody but me. So I'll just tell him to go in the front, the front seat. And you can come and pet my little female. So I'm there, I'm talking to the female, I'm petting her. All of a sudden I get something just licks the whole side of my face. It was the male. And the guy's name was Ed. He was so blown away. He said, that dog is 11 years old.
Yeah.
He is crotchety. He has never done that to anybody but me. And I've had him since he was born.
Yeah.
I said, well, dogs know that I love dogs.
Right.
They just know it.
Yeah.
They also know it when you don't. They also know it when you don't.
Right.
I had a guy I rode Harleys with on Whidbey Island, and he'd come up to the house. I had an invisible fence also to keep the dogs in. And he'd come up, he'd honk the horn because my 130-pound purebred, German-bred male German Shepherd would not let him out of the vehicle. He'd sit there just growl at him.
Yeah, there's something wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had German Shepherds most of my life too. We raised Shepherds, St. Bernards, and Rhodesian Ridgebacks, and a couple of poodles and a whole plethora of other things, horses, goats, cattle.
My purebreds have been my 2 German Shepherds, and I had 3 miniature schnauzers that were they were sweet, but they only had 3 brain cells, one to
Right
bark,
among
one to
them,
eat,
yeah.
and one to make a little brown rock somewhere
Yeah.
you're going to step on in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
In the book on, Dolly's case, the book's called Symmetry. She's been taken on board, and there was huge animal husbandry centers with all kinds of animals from Earth, animals from other planets. Oh, I loved exploring this with Dolly because this is one of the reasons we called the book Symmetry. This was Dolly's choice for a title. I wanted to call it Dolly Among the Stars, which I thought was really descriptive. But she said, I asked her, I'm like, what do you want to call the book? She said, I want to call it Symmetry. I said, well, why? And she explained that the ETs taught her this, that there's symmetry throughout life in the universe and energy. But on the planet, there are animals very much like we see here on Earth. But you described seeing, I think it was bulls, Brahma bulls, which were like 3 times the size of our own.
Like Gower bulls, yeah. Huge, 1,800 to 2,200 pound a head. Ginormous, yeah. Just ginormous.
Yeah,
No low gravity, yeah.
Now, is there a way that someone like myself, I can hone my ability to have an out-of-body experience or to do remote viewing?
Yeah, I'm going to send you the book tonight. I'm going to go on Amazon. You're going to, after the show, you're going to give me your address because I'm going to have it sent to you. Okay.
All right.
And you read it, and then you'll have Preston for backup. Okay. Because he doesn't mind talking to anybody. And if you're contactee, I'm sure he'd love to hear your story too. So
yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm a contactee or not.
You are.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. But I've had. I think because of my mom. Now, my Sicilian grandmother, Angelina Cardinali. My grandfather was a fisherman from Isola della Femme, right outside of Palermo in Sicily. And he moved most of the village over to the San Joaquin Sacramento River Delta, northeast of San Francisco. The San Joaquin Sacramento River empties into the north end of San Francisco Bay.
Right, I got relatives over there. They're almond growers. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You drive down at 99 or even I-5 up through the valley. That's all you see for 100. It seems like hundreds of miles. But my grandmother Nana used to when the fishing fleet was gone, when they were up in Alaska fishing, they're gone for 5 months. Everybody's pay envelope is different. And there are no communication. We're talking 1901 is when my grandfather came over permanently. And by I think by 1912, I think most of the villages had been moved over. Most of the villagers had relocated to Pittsburgh, California. It's right on the San Joaquin Sacramento Delta. Yeah. And the village ladies, my grandmother was the matriarch. She was the granddaughter of the mayor of Isola della Femme. And my grandfather was in charge of all of the Sicilian, Italian, and Portuguese fishermen from San Francisco to San Pedro. Wow. He was in charge of all of them. But the village wives would come to my grandmother and Angelina, and he said, when you dream tonight, could you look into Giuseppe's pay envelope and tell me how much he has in his pay envelope? And she would tell him. And she was almost always right on the money. And everyone had a different pay envelope depending on what they did. Yeah. Everyone had a different, every year was a different year depending on the season. And it was, so they would come up and ask my grandmother, Angelina, can you tell me what so-and-so had in his pay envelope? And my mother was in a sense the same way. She just knew. I could bring a friend over that my mother had never met, had never had a conversation with. They come in, they introduce themselves, and mom always gives you a hug. That's what Sicilian moms do. And when they left, my mother said, I don't like that boy. I said, what do you mean? I said, you just met him. I said, no, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like, he's from a bad family. His dad's abusive. I said, where'd you get that information? I said, I can sense it.
Right. She knew. We've always been psychic. Okay. The reason that we've dropped away from it so much, or the belief of it, is they've made us afraid to use it. They've made us embarrassed to use it. They've made people lose their jobs over having abilities or even seeing UFOs. There's been a huge campaign for the last 100 years or so to separate people from that ability that they have.
Or
And
to
it's sad.
ridicule them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it amazes me how bad that is, you know. I tell people now, if you've got young children in your house, let them be who they're going to be. Leave them alone. If they start telling you they got a friend, go with it. Let them. Try to see the friend with them. I'm not kidding you. And if you ask for a way to do this beside that book, there's an app for that. Russell Targ was a CIA operative, and he's very intelligent. He did a lot of things for the government, but he left everybody something because he knew the truth of this. And it's called ESP Trainer. And you go down to the store, and it's for, you know, Apple as well as Android or your computer, iOS. And you can download this, and it teaches you to be competent in your ability. In other words, it takes somebody, like if you're growing up and you got a parent, your parent says, oh, you did it, yay. You know, you've got the confidence from them that you just performed correctly. We don't have that now. We got people who are clueless, and they're adults. So this app trains you and gives you the confidence to know when you're dead on it and when you're veering away from it. And you exercise with it. It's great. You should try it.
I've never had problems with lack of confidence.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I pulled off stunts that I don't know how I pulled them off. Really, my area of expertise, I'm an aviation historian, military historian.
Very cool. I'm impressed.
And my favorite airplane in the entire world is the Blackbird, the SR-71, the A-12, and the YF-12.
Yeah.
And because of that, I don't know if you can see part of my book in the background, 75 Years of Lockheed Skunk Works.
Yeah.
That's my 28th book. My 29th book is on submarines. But Ben Rich, who was the second president and general manager of the Lockheed Skunk Works, we became friends. And I don't know how it happened. I don't know why it happened. But for 25 years, we talked at least once a quarter. And in August of '89, Ben called me at home and he said, Jim, he said, I have it from the horse's mouth that the Blackbirds aren't going to make it through Congress. And if anybody could scrounge one, you can. So I said, okay, that's all the information I needed. So I called the Adjutant General of the state of New York. And I said, General Weaver, said, this is Sergeant Goodall with the 133rd. How would the New York Air Guard like to move the world's fastest airplane in a couple of your C-5s? Because they had them out of Newburgh, New York.
Yeah.
And he dead silent for a few seconds. He said, you mean the Blackbird? And I said, yes, sir. He said, when you're ready, you call, we'll haul. And I got the entire Minnesota congressional delegation, 5 Democrats and 5 Republicans, to agree to sign a letter to the Air Force Museum justifying us getting that. I got the entire congressional delegation to agree on anything. And I think it was the first and probably the last time that's ever happened. And I managed to pull it off. And even I had colonels in our unit, just they quit talking to me, said you're a jackass, you're a fool, you're not going to pull this off. I think you should just drop it. I said, no, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get her done. And I did. I managed to bring a Blackbird in to Minneapolis. We cut the wings off. In 2.5 days, I put it inside a C-5, and we flew it back to Minneapolis. Wow. And it was something that I was everybody who was a naysayer, and there was a lot of them, said, you'll never pull this off. And I did. And it's just when I want to do. Yeah, when I want to do my 75 years to Skunk Works, I didn't know where to go. Who wants to do a 400-page book? Weighs 5.5 pounds. And I finally found Osprey Publishing out of England, and they did a fantastic job. So
that's awesome.
I've always done. I've always done things that they say couldn't be done, but I also have the type of personality. No one has a neutral opinion of me.
Yeah.
Either they think either they really like me, or they think, and they will campaign to the fact that I'm an asshole.
Oh.
And and I don't care what they think. That's not my area of concern.
Yeah.
I have enough people who love me for who I am, and screw the rest of them. I really don't.
I have a saying. It's from being a zookeeper. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go get your own monkeys. Figure it out.
Yeah. So
what amazes me is there are airplane graveyards all over this country that are buried in sand, most of them. And there's enough metal there to do unbelievably good things with. There are car graveyards all over this planet that are just sitting there, rotting away, doing nothing. They don't recycle. They don't reuse it. That's energy just waiting to happen to build into something else, some other type of infrastructure. And they don't use it. And they keep going through all these technologies and laying waste to the planet with the leftovers or the unusables or the cast-offs or whatever. And it's our biggest human problem here on this planet because it causes trouble.
One problem that's growing, and there isn't a solution that anybody has come up with, is there's no way to recycle batteries used in cars. Your lithium-ion batteries.
Right. It's not just cars. Yeah. It's electric cars. It's electrical solar systems, like the ones on your house. Those batteries don't last forever.
Huh? Yeah.
They're not recyclable. And it's the actual elements. Tesla had free energy for everybody. There's a technology where you can run your car off a transmission tower without wires charging or anything. It's just constantly in the air everywhere. And the government took it and they hid it, they buried it. It was his greatest gift to humanity, and it's just sitting there doing nothing. And it makes me crazy when I think about it. It's like, why? They
can't charge for it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. They had their agenda. They knew what they wanted.
Every time someone comes up with a you'll read about some guy in some podunk town in Iowa or whatever has come up with a way to run your car on water.
I would love to see that, honestly. I'm thinking about that one lately. I heard about it, and I just haven't delved into it yet.
There's been some examples where they've actually shown, and all of a sudden the person who has that technology, all of a sudden he moves out of Iowa and maybe he moves to Malibu, and his idea or whatever is disappeared.
Yeah, it's hydrogen technology. Water has hydrogen in it.
Yeah.
Okay, just so you know, there's absolute hydrogen in water, and you just have to rearrange the molecules a little bit. And if you've got a chamber where that can happen, boom, you can use water. I can see that. And they don't want you to use it because that's free energy again.
Bob Lazar, who's a longtime friend of mine, he with his United Nuclear, he had a kit that you could buy, and it wasn't all that expensive.
Yeah.
It used solar panels to create the electricity. You hook a hose to it, and it created hydrogen, gaseous hydrogen, and
no batteries. I know.
Yeah.
I love Lazar. Just so you know, almost every show I go on, you can tell him I said that. I love Lazar. He is brilliant. He is who he says he is. Yep. I know for a fact because I've flown craft. I know I've seen his drawings. He's dead on. He knows. Okay.
I met him before he went to work out at S4. I met him through John Lear.
Yeah.
And it was the day I photographed. I was one of the first people outside of the government or Lockheed to photograph the F-117 at the fence line at Tonopah Test Range. Wow. And when we got back to John's house, he lived in Vegas. He said that I have a new friend coming over, just moved here from Albuquerque. He's interviewing for a job out in the desert. And I had shot the F-117 with print film, and because digital didn't exist back in 1989, it did, but on an industrial basis. the average person wouldn't know, couldn't have something like that. So I was going to have it processed at a photomat when he got back to Vegas, but it was too late. We got back there about 9:15 that evening, and John said, friend's coming over pretty soon. So about 10 minutes later, a knock on the door. This young man comes in, introduces himself as Bob Lazar. He's there interviewing. He has one more interview for a job out in the desert. He doesn't know doing what. But he had worked at Sandia as a weapons developer.
Yeah.
So I told him I had print film. I have the F-117. I really need to get it processed, but I got to wait till tomorrow to go to Photomat. And I probably won't get it, for another 24 hours after that. And he said, well, I have a C-41 processing unit at home. So I developed film for realtors. So let's jump in my car. He lived over at West Charleston. So we jump in his car, and we're about a block from Lear's house. And he looks at me and he says, I feel sorry for Lear. And I said, why is that? He said, well, that dumb son of a bitch believes in UFOs. He's from this
famous last words, right? Yeah.
Yeah. He's from this incredibly famous aviation family. His dad brought the Learjet to the world, and he believes in UFOs. I said, I'm a physicist. If I can't prove it mathematically or put my hands on it, it doesn't exist. I said, and you could put a gun to my head, and I wouldn't admit that UFOs were real. They're not.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the other half of the story I started earlier.
Okay.
Do you know who saw me with my father in Fort Worth? It's Mitchell, astronaut Mitchell.
Okay.
Oh, Edgar Mitchell?
Edgar Mitchell, yes. I had a long relationship with him. And he's had many, many, many experiences that I am absolutely sworn to secrecy over. I'm not allowed to talk about it. And he's gone now, so that puts a double whammy on me over it. But I'm telling you, he knew exactly who they were. Okay, that much I can say. And it's a wake-up call when you learn. It's a real wake-up call.
I have a friend of mine who is a analyst for the National Security Agency.
Yeah.
And when Tucker Carlson and some government employee made the announcement here in 2019 that there are craft not made of this earth that have been flying over our military installations. And that really got my attention. And I was with a friend of mine, Doc Skinner. We're up at his place, and he's talking to the Cousin Brothers in Hawaii.
Okay. And
he has it in speakerphone. And they were talking about this statement that Tucker Carlson made and whatever. And then I think it was Blake Cousin said, I know there's a guy who lives, I think he lives in the same state you are. He lives in Arizona, but I haven't tracked him down. His name is Jim Goodall. And he supposedly, knows Lazar. It says, and Doc says, well, he's about 3 feet from me. Why? What do you want to ask him? Just said, are you willing to call Bob and ask him what his response is? I said, sure.
Yeah.
So I always call his wife. I call Joy, and she said, well, when Joy answered the phone, hey, Joy, it's Jim Goodall. I said, oh, when you coming to visit us? I said, hopefully in March. And as it turns out, the pandemic, as they call it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that Lazar has been very busy doing what he loves doing best, and that's investigating and engineering things,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So Joy said, well, he's in the lab. Let me go get him. So Bob, about a minute later, is there. And of course, he has a very unique voice. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, I got a question. I said, I got the Cousin Brothers had asked me to ask you a question. And I said, what is your response to the fact that the federal government has announced the existence of craft not made of this earth over flying our military installations? And he said, well, I got really excited when they talked about it, but I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. There has to be some evidence, physical evidence, not just someone saying it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I believe plausible deniability is going to be the order of the day all the way to the bitter end. You're never going to know what they know. Never. They can't. It would turn everybody on this planet against them in seconds. They wouldn't be able to handle it.
Well, Ben Rich, who I say I had a long-term pen pal relationship with it. He's the one, just before he died, he told me, he said, Jim, we have things out in the desert And he wasn't referring to Area 51 either.
Right.
He said, we have
Right.
things out in the desert that's 50 years beyond what you can comprehend.
Right.
Not what you think you can build in 50 years, but just what you can imagine. And I have a
Right.
pretty wild imagination.
Yeah.
And he said, if you see movies like Star Trek or Star Wars, we've been there, done that, or decided it wasn't worth the effort. I said, Ben, you want to expand upon that? He said, no. And the SOB had the nerve to die on me about 10 days later.
I'm
So,
sorry.
yeah. So, but I will never tire of this, nor will I ever slow down trying to know more, try to find out,
Exactly. You should.
dig up more.
Yeah.
And I've been around. You said you're what, 50 something or 60 something?
I'm 64.
Yeah, I'm
probably
77. I'm
yeah,
77.
I'm probably closer to 68 physically because I've been out of time so many times. I think I'm older than I know. You know.
Yeah.
I haven't
Yeah.
sat down and figured it out. I don't want to. It would be just more than my brain would handle. And so yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's been a fun evening as usual.
Yeah.
As usual.
Yeah.
And we've hit the magic 2 hour plus mark. So
As
yeah.
always.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Dolly, I'm looking forward to
Let's do
reading
this
your book.
again.
Oh,
Oh, thank you.
absolutely.
We'll
And,
send it to you. Okay. We'll
and
send you
Preston,
what.
hopefully next time you'll have an uninterruptible connection with us.
Yeah.
He
I
usually
hope-
does. It was acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah, thank you guys both so much for joining
You're
us.
welcome.
I knew
You're
Jim would
welcome.
enjoy chatting with you guys. So
I
enjoyed it.
for a long time, I never looked forward to Mondays, and now I've been retired now for 10 years, so that doesn't bother me anymore. But now I look forward to Monday evenings. They're just they're a lot of fun. I really do enjoy it. And Preston and Dolly, I want to thank you both for coming on board. And
Thank you.
of course, always the lovely Lynn, and of course her husband had to chime in there for early on this evening, and I heard him laugh in the background too. So,
yeah, absolutely.
but it's just this is a place I belong. And
Yes, I'm happy to meet you, and I think this is an awesome situation y'all got yourselves in. I think it's great.
yeah, I do too. I do too.
I do too. It's a lot of fun.
So,
Yes,
so
thank you.
I would say that this is the end of the session.
Pretty much. And when Lynn hangs up on everybody, don't go away because I want your address. I'm going to send you those books.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good to me. Sounds
Okay.
good to me.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank
All right.
you all so much for being here. Thank you,
You're
everyone,
welcome.
for the audience. They had great questions as always, and thank you, Jen.
Yep.
And you're going to say goodbye to being online here in a second?
I will, but so I guess stay on. Do you want to just stay online, Jim, and then I'll
Yeah.
connect you guys after we end the show?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll take you guys. All right. Thank you, everyone.
There was a gas.